Parashat Mishpatim. The Torah makes a dramatic shift from narrative to law. Until now, we mainly focused our narrative of the patriarchs later on of slavery in Egypt and how we came out of slavery in Egypt. And now we see a dramatic shift. We move from Sinai, from the stories, from the narrative, to a particular story of laws. Why that shift all of a sudden? This shift is not accidental, but a core idea in Judaism. In Judaism, law does not emerge from philosophical ideas, or from lived experiences. Now, after Israel has suffered what slavery means, it suffered to be the wrong side of power. They were commanded to never forget that feeling. After feeling what it means to be a stranger in a land, we're commanded to remember those thoughts and now put them into action and turns that lived experience into law. Law emerges from experience. This is paramount because we as individuals want to give freedom to everybody. We want to be free. But often, when we choose to be free, we often deny it to others. Within 3 generations, the brothers sold Joseph to slavery, a betrayal that was only redeemed once Judah offered his own life to save Benjamin, giving away his freedom for the other. The collective suffering of Israel was necessary to forge that identity, to forge those emotions, to forge those ideas into a just nation, a just society that can be built on those principles, on those feelings, and those collective consciousness. And thus, changing freedom, not just from a political philosophy, from political thought, but engraved in what it means to be Jewish. It becomes moral, it becomes social, it becomes part of us. It creates restraint, empathy, and above all, justice. This solves a very deep problem in the human condition. We tend to be very tribal, to trust people in our tribe, and to be deeply loyal to those, but feel suspicious towards the outsiders. Often this tribalism makes binds and blinds. It makes people in the group united, but makes people outside the group be alienated and frowned upon and looked at the other, the outside, the neglected. This can often lead to dehumanization of the other, that silences the consciousness and removes yourself from him. And you can now go attack them, and that creates genocide, that creates terrorism, and terrible attacks and terrible situations can happen once you remove yourself from the collective and see the other as a non-human, as an alien, as something to eradicate. Often we could justify those horrible acts by thinking of higher ideals, of altruistic evil. And that's why, in those moments, it is supremely important to remember, as God commands us over and over, 37 times He commands us, do not oppress a stranger, because you were once a stranger in a foreign land. This is a deep human weakness of seeing the other as irrelevant, deleting him completely. God commands of us to remember the stranger, to remember those feelings we had when we were in his position. We're not connected to him by the tribe, but we're connected to him by experience. We can relate to him, not because we're similar, because we look alike, but because we're similar in that we're human and we have experiences that I can understand. Empathy can be fragile, but morality, who's anchored in memory, can protect us from this human weakness. And these tools God gives us to build a just society. And that's why it's so important that all this stuff are anchored, not just in memory, but in ritualistic memory. Like the Passover, where every year we relive those experiences, we pass on those experiences of what it means to be a stranger, what it means to be on the wrong side of power, what does it mean to live in these difficulties. Even if we don't live them right now, we anchor our morality in our experience, which we relive every day and every year. And it is this transition from ideas and from memories, in turning them into law, turns them into ritualistic memory, into having them codified forever. For this not to be dependent on emotions we could change, not dependent on fragile things, but on a strict code, which can safeguard these emotions and create a just society built on this collective memory and bind it into a collective identity. And so last week God told us this vision that we should be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. But that is a vision, but we need to translate that vision into reality, into legislation, into action that you can do in order to build that vision. And so God legislates the Shabbat in order to show that everybody's equal under God. Once a week, everybody's equal. No one is a slave, no one is a master. We're all equal. We're all children of God. We all have time of rest. We're all equally created under God. Slavery becomes temporary. It's an issue to collect debt over 7 years. It's all limited. It's not destiny, but circumstance. We also see the commandment to help your enemy once his animals collapse under load. And specifically, it uses the word enemy. Why? Because they're trying to symbolize something. That yes, you could easily help your neighbor, your friend, but here the point is different. It's, yes, he's your enemy. Yes, you have different opinions of him. Yes, you may not like him. Yes, you have problems with him. But you have something in common, and that is your humanity. And this animal suffering under load, Your friend is struggling to mount the stuff onto the animal. Help him, regardless of the situation, because you share human dignity. And so you should go help him. You should go spend time with him. Yes, you may have friction. Yes, you may have problems. But you do a good act to him. That is a gesture that you break this negativity. And later on, maybe you could find common ground. Maybe you can move on. But first, you must put yourself there and do the action. And this is put into legislation in order to better society. Overcome your grudges. And this is why God chose us. He told Abraham, I chose you to do what's right and just. Israel's memory of injustice becomes the basis for justice. Yitro gives us a vision. Mishpatim starts the details and the structure which makes that vision real. Without a vision, law is blind. Without detailed law, the vision stays abstract and unrealized. Judaism's greatness is in translating those ideas and ideals into daily practice. Freedom is not just proclaimed, it is legislated, it is institutionalized, it is practiced. It is real. God is in the details. And through those details, God's presence enters human society. Shabbat Shalom.